it's not very common for somebody to have the type of resilience, positivity, and sort of comeback that you've had. It's
Mm.
incredible and really, truly, I don't have much to add. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's it's not just me, I'm not just that amazing of a person. I've had so much help throughout all of this. I mean, my mom slept on a chair by my bedside for 2 months. 2 months, she was just there with me every second, scratching my nose if it is, and wiping my tears when I cried. And I had my rugby teammates coming in like a revolving door, and the rest of my family and my friends, like strangers from all over the world. I've got rugby jerseys like stacked up above my head from like the New Zealand All Blacks national team to like the Modesto Booze Hounds, like half rugby team, half drinking team. Like it's just amazing how much support I've gotten. So I think that's a critical component to all this too.
Yeah.
It's just I've been helped so much.
Welcome to Harry Handles It, a podcast where we dive into the world of personal growth, success strategies, and everything in between. I'm your host, Harry Nalbandyan, and today we're going to chat with an incredible guest who has some amazing insights to share. Remember, no matter what life throws your way, I'm here to help you handle it. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Harry Handles It podcast. Today we've got the amazing Robert Paylor on, who has overcome some of the biggest adversities humans can face, and is sitting here with a smile on his face and spreading the positivity that helped him get to where he is. Robert, welcome to the podcast.
Harry, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
Awesome, man. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit of your story?
Yeah, definitely. So kind of the cliff notes. I live over in the Sacramento Valley, which is where I grew up, and I'm a lifelong athlete. I grew up here, and all of my memories are just like hot summers and sports. And I've started initially playing the first like three traditional sports that you'll see any American really play: of football, basketball, and baseball. And then it was in high school, and I find the sport of rugby. Now, rugby is a really kind of niche sport here in America, right? And I remember the first time I heard about it, one of my friend's moms had gone over to New Zealand, which is, of course, like their national sport. They love rugby over there. She goes and she sees a match, and she comes back. She tells this story where somebody was like lost their mouth guard while in competition. And then they went into contact and they bit through their lip, like teeth through their lip. And I'm like, that's insane. I'll never play that sport, but I find it over at my high school, Jesuit High School in Sacramento, which has the most successful rugby program in the nation. And I fall in love with this game. I go over to UC Berkeley to play, and of course leads to this story that we're going to be really diving in deep today. But now I'm an inspirational speaker and I'm an author, and I talk about this journey and these things that have helped me in this challenge.
Incredible, man. So walk us through, I know your story, but walk us through that infamous rugby match that kind of brought you here.
Right. Yeah. So I find the sport of rugby. I go over to Cal, which has the most successful collegiate rugby program in the nation. When I'm a sophomore and I'm competing in the national championship game, we're going for a 31st national championship. And that's with the program only even having competed in this national championship tournament for about 45 years. So they're like 31 out of 45, this team's winning. So you can look at like any team in any sport across America, and I think the only team that has more hardware than us is the Harlem Globetrotters, and their games are rigged. Like, we're not playing the Washington Generals every week. This is real. So I'm pretty excited. Like, it's a really that I'm competing in what's called a mall, which is when the big guys, we group together in a single unit and we push as a single unit to advance the ball. And in this kind of event, like, it's my moment. Like, I'm a big guy. At the time, I was 6'5", 245 pounds. This is my time to shine. And I'm like drooling here on the field thinking, let's go, Robert, drive this thing in. But as I do that, the opposing players start making illegal moves and the referee's not calling anything. So one player comes in from the side, which is illegal, and two more follow him, illegal. But this first guy who came in, he binds me in a headlock. So he's got my chin kind of pinned down to my chest, which is an automatic yellow or red card in rugby. If you do that, you are gone from the game, but the ref's not calling anything. But I'm kind of thinking like, okay, there's only a couple different courses of action that you can take in a moment like this. And one is you stand up and you throw your arms out to the side and say, hey, ref, what's going on? Are you going to call this? Or number two, you just keep moving forward. And that was my decision. So shoulder levels down, kind of back flat, pushing forward, legs are churning. And as I do that, another player comes in, he chops me down by my legs. So I start falling down, and this guy is torquing me by my head. I cannot get my head up. And remember, I just close my eyes, I grip my teeth, top of my head makes impact with the ground, but my body keeps going forward. My forehead slams against my chest. It gets pinned there. I feel this god awful crunch in my neck, and then just poof. Can't move anything, can't feel anything, totally clear and conscious. I didn't lose consciousness for a second, but totally numb and motionless from my collarbone down. I'm thinking, I just got thrust into my worst nightmare and I can't wake up. Because I had seen stories like this on TV before where something like this happens to someone and they can't move anything, they can't feel anything. And you get updates years later, and a lot of these folks don't really physically progress much because it's the nature of the injury. They're catastrophic and they're chronic. And I start thinking, that's probably going to be me. And I'm questioning all my goals. And I basically see a future where I'm not going to be able to move anything. And then I'm going to, be in like a power wheelchair, and I'll get pointed to like be able to look out the window or watch TV. And my mom's just going to spoon feed me. And then one day she's going to die. And then I'm going to have some caretaker who kind of just keeps me alive. But this life is going to be meaningless. Like, I just didn't see really any hope in the future. But I'm like holding on that this is going to be like some stinger, some like little thing where system kind of shuts down for a little while and then it starts like rebooting. And I go over to the hospital. We do a bunch of medical imaging, CT scan, X-ray, MRI. Doctor comes back and he crushes like all my hopes. And he says, Robert, your injury is bad. It's really bad. And the reality is you'll never walk again. You'll never move your hands. And we're going to do our best so that one day you can do something like pick up a piece of pizza and just bring it to your face. Like, if you can just feed yourself, you beat all the odds. And then he doesn't even stop there. He recommends a spinal fusion surgery to me. He explains that the disc in between my C5 and C6 vertebrae ruptured into my spinal cord. And then I had fracturing at my C5 and my C6 vertebrae. So that damage that was done to that region of my spine might only continue to increase unless we perform that emergency spinal fusion surgery, which essentially permanently casts your vertebrae together to promote that stability. So he says my best chance at having recovery, but it is a potentially life-threatening surgery. My body was already freaking out at this moment. On top of not being able to move or feel anything, I spiked a fever up to 105 degrees at one point. So we're getting into like real danger zone of brain damage. The surgery is performed to the front of the neck. They move your esophagus over so they can operate on your spinal cord. There's a lot of important real estate right here. I mean, if you're just a little bit off, things get bad quick. And he told me I had 1 hour to make a decision. So my faith is very important to me. And the first person I call is my spiritual director. And I'm asking for prayers. I'm asking for advice. I'm Catholic. So I was actually asking that he could send a priest over there to give me the sacrament of anointing the sick, which is like your last rites, essentially. I'm like kind of preparing for this to potentially be my last day on earth. And he says he'll send someone over, but he gives me this piece of advice that just like changed everything for me in this moment. And it gave me so much power in what should have been a powerless situation. And he said, Robert, throughout this journey, there's going to be a lot of things that you can't control, but the one thing you'll always have control over is your mindset. So your positivity, your ambition, your willingness to wake up every day and fight is up to you. This injury can't take that choice and that power away from you. So I got to think, like, in that moment, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have some doctor saying that everything's going to be okay, or any statistics on my side, or signs of life already starting to show up. I didn't have any of that, but I had this decision to keep moving forward and not let my circumstances determine my actions and my success. But it's that decision that I have to choose what's best for me in any given situation that I could really access and control in that moment. So it gave me the mental clarity to be able to go into this surgery. And I remember my brother held the phone in front of me. I FaceTimed my best friends. I told them I love them. I might not see them ever again. And he sent some messages to my rugby teammates and a religious retreat group I had done in high school. And that priest comes in, we say our prayers, I say goodbye to everybody. I get rolled into that operating room. They put that gas mask on my face and I start counting down from 100. I think I made it to like 97, lights out. That concluded that very big day for me, May 6, 2017.
Man, I got goosebumps. I mean, throughout that entire
Mm,
run of the story. What an incredible moment, though, where your advisor had given you that key. It's if that wasn't given to you in that moment, do you think things would have changed? Do you think it would have been different for you?
I haven't
Because that
thought
seems
about yeah, that's a good question. I have not thought about that before because I really leaned on that hard. And we'll talk about it. I continue to really lean on that. Um, I don't know. I want to say yes. I want to
yeah,
say yes because I had a really strong foundation already built up in my life. We all know rugby is a really tough sport, right? And it's not easy when you got a 300-pound ball carrier with his shoulder down running full steam at you. You gain some resilience. And being able to compete on these really high performing teams, I it was just always instilled in us that like when we're down late in a game and all the odds are stacked against us, we don't just give up and say like, this is too tough. No, we like you work harder. You
just
know,
keep
you
going.
really you dive even deeper into this. So there was this phrase for mental toughness that we had on the Cal rugby team to have like some collective language around this. And we define mental toughness as the ability to focus on the next most important thing, which we all really pride ourselves on, right? So you think of like in a rugby context, let's say someone passes you the ball, you drop it forward, give it to the other team, turnover occurred, it's your fault. The mentally weak thing to do is pound sand and get all mad, and then ball comes over to you and you don't know how to react because you're so like caught in this past failure or moment. The mentally tough thing to do is put it to the side. We'll deal with that in the film room, but what's the next most important thing? I got to tackle this guy who's coming over at me, or I got to be able to read the field, things like that. So then you translate that into me in this hospital room. I got to be able to think, what's the next most important thing? I can't take on all these emotions that are crashing down on me right now. I need to have mental clarity to make a decision that could implicate the rest of my life or could be the end of my life today. Or and then make those phone calls, be able to just collect myself and what was this really important moment. So I think that mental toughness, we can apply that to everything. And that's something that I was leaning on to as well. But when my advisor told me that control your mindset piece, it's like exactly what I needed to hear.
That's incredible, man. Having made a career out of representing catastrophically injured people,
Mm,
it's not very common for somebody to have the type of resilience, positivity, and sort of comeback that you've had. It's
mm.
incredible and really, truly, like I don't have much to add. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's it's not just me, I'm not just that amazing of a person. I've had so much help throughout all this. And I mean, my mom slept on a chair by my bedside for 2 months. 2 months. She was just there with me every second, scratching my nose if it itched and wiping my tears when I cried. And I had my rugby teammates coming in like a revolving door, and the rest of my family and my friends, like strangers from all over the world. I've got rugby jerseys like stacked up above my head from like the New Zealand All Blacks national team to like the Modesto Booze Hounds, like half rugby team, half drinking team. Like it's just amazing how much support I've gotten. So I think that's a critical component to all this too.
Yeah,
Is just I've been helped so much.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
What was the hardest thing to rebuild after the catastrophic injury? Was it physical or was it mental?
Mental, 100%. I mean, the command center we got going on up here determines all the physical actions that we take in our lives. I mean, you've got to have that dialed in. And I mean, there's so many different like challenges that I faced on that mental battle. I mean, one is just kind of like consistency over time, just like that fatigue that can set in. Here I am 8 years out now, and I'm still journeying through this. So there's a lot of tools that I have to draw upon for that. But I think the most significant mental challenge that I faced was in forgiveness, because what happened to me was illegal. You are not allowed to drag someone to the ground by their neck and especially render them a quadriplegic. And when I was looking at pictures and videos of how this had happened to me, I was filled with a rage that I just can't even describe. Because here I am after that surgery, I couldn't swallow anything. So I couldn't eat or drink. I lost 60 pounds in 1 month. I had pneumonia, but I couldn't cough, right? Because my diaphragm is mostly paralyzed. So if something gets stuck in my windpipe, I just sit there and I choke and I pray to God that someone helps me clear my lungs. I mean, it's like death is with me sitting in that room. I can't move anything. My doctor tells me I'm not going to move anything ever again. It's because someone did this to me. Like I didn't do something stupid or regrettable. And it wasn't even just like this chance, like fluke accident. It was because of the actions of another person. And this guy didn't say he's sorry back then. And he has never offered his condolences to me. He's never reached out to me in these last 8 years. And I kind of reached this fork in the road where very early on, I'm looking at one path and it's like, I can really hold on to this hatred and I can wish harm upon this person and I can wish upon him the suffering that I'm enduring right now. Or I can choose to forgive him and I can really look forward and I can just put this in the past. And it was so clear to me in that moment that I needed to forgive him. And it wasn't something like I felt like doing. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fake it till I make it. I'm just going to say I forgive this person, whether I really feel it or not. So people would ask me, Robert, what do you think about this guy? Like, what's your take? Have you seen? And I'm like, yeah, I have. And I forgive him and I wish him well. But deep within me, there's still a lot of anger within. I couldn't just like say a few words and then suddenly be at peace in my life, right? But I stayed on that path of forgiveness for months. And regardless of how much hatred or anger I felt, I would just say I forgave this person. And I think by doing that, it allowed time to kind of run its course where I wasn't putting fuel on that fire. I was just letting it burn itself out slowly, not focusing on all that stuff behind me, but really looking forward because that's where I'm going. So now here I am. I've completely moved on from the situation. I offer him my full forgiveness in my words and in my heart. I really do wish him well. And I'm so happy I made that decision because forgiveness, I think oftentimes is just seen as like a way to remove the guilt from someone who did wrong. But I think we really need to view it more as a way to remove negativity that's in ourselves. I think it's really just as much, if not more, about the person who was wronged than the person who did wrong. So I think it's just always the answer. That was a heck of a journey that I had to go through, but I'm so happy that I did it because I'm just like present in this moment, able to see those positives that I have in my life.
It's incredible, man. What I mean, that's something that I never even thought of is how hard that hurdle would have been to forgive the person.
Yeah.
And incredible and great job for you for moving past that and making the greatest outcome of the situation.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, it wasn't easy, but it's just so worth it. And now like, I just try to spread this message as much as I possibly can because it's most beneficial when it's most difficult. And, but like, if we give it that time, if we take that kind of like mind over matter approach, like I'm not going to let my emotions control my actions. I'm going to let my actions slowly influence my emotions. Then we can all like achieve that peace that comes with forgiveness.
Now that fake it till you make it mentality kind of, it spreads its wings over all facets of life.
I know, it's so funny. It's so funny, but there's truth to it.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. Now, if somebody is facing their own sort of paralyzing moment, maybe not in the physical sense, what is your recommendation for what they can do now to take action against that?
Yeah. Good question. So first thing that I think we need to do, like foundational piece, is really start using perspective as a tool. So I've kind of laid out the most difficult things that I've gone through. Now in my life, I can walk 500 yards in my walker. If anybody's watching the video, I'm moving my hands, talking like an Italian over here. I mean, I've made probably about an 80% recovery in my upper body. I mean, it's just amazing what I've done. I was able to return back to UC Berkeley. I graduated. I walked across the stage. I'm all blinged up now, married in November of 2023 to the love of my life. Like I'm living this wonderful, wonderful life. But I can't ever forget what I've been through. I need to have that perspective because I still go through tough days. Trust me, of course I do. And I still spend the majority of my time in this wheelchair, the vast majority. Whenever I'm walking, it's just like therapeutic. It's not functional yet. But so I have tough moments. And when I'm going through those tough times, I got to look back at that time when I was in a hospital and I would have given anything to be where I am right now. I think that perspective is so important because a lot of times, especially like I feel like if you're kind of scrolling through social media and getting advice, people would be like, never compare yourself to anybody else. And what's the saying, right? It's like comparison is the thief of all joy. I think we're just using it wrong. And if I were to go back and compare myself to my 20-year-old self pre-injury and all the things that I had going on in my life and the ease of just being able to navigate around, I think I'd be pretty upset about how things are. But when I look at that period of May 6th following and all those difficult moments that I've been through, it really puts my challenges into perspective and helps me realize that I can get through this. So I think it's important for us to really practice that perspective through the things that we've been through, but even more importantly, to really be intentional about looking outside of ourselves. And when I'm having a tough day, I am not looking up videos of puppies and rainbows. I'll look up stories of cancer patients and complete quadriplegics and veterans who come back from war without limbs. I look at them and how they make their lives happen every day. And a lot of times they have a smile on their face. And I'm just like, remind me not to complain about anything ever again. So there's a saying that I use when I need that quick perspective shift. And I hope that the folks who need this start using it too. And that saying is compared to what? So I'll be like, I'm really tired, but compared to what? Or there's a lot that I'm going through right now, but compared to what? There's a lot that I can do. And there's so much that I do have. Now, I don't want us using this phrase to dismiss our challenges. I think it's really unhealthy if we just dismiss our challenges. If we do that, it just ignores it and the challenge will never go away. But what that statement is meant to do is just put our challenges into perspective. It helps us realize what we go through is overcomable and there's just so much that we can achieve. So I think that perspective is like foundational tool, like number one, we got to have in our tool belt when we're having those mentally, emotionally paralyzing instances in our lives.
That's a fantastic perspective on, comparing yourself to your prior self or different versions of yourself, and really seeing how far you've come. So what is a daily habit that helps you stay anchored in resilience?
Yeah. I think it's just having a really good routine. So I think of it as like a mental diet. We all understand a physical diet, right? And it's nasty in, nasty out. Or if we eat well, our bodies are going to perform better. And I think the same thing goes for our minds. So the more we're taking in negative information or having negative interactions throughout a day, the more negative we're going to be as people and the less able we are to take on our challenges. But if we're taking in positive information and we're having positive conversations throughout a day, I think we're going to be more positive people. It rubs off on us and we're building that really positive mental diet. So for me now, like I have to have like structure in the beginning of my day to like start things off right. So that starts with like, I'm setting an alarm and I'm getting up when my alarm goes off. So for me, I wish I could come in here and like puff out my chest and say I get up at like 5 a.m. I don't, I'm not that strong. I need my beauty sleep. I wake up at like 7, but like alarm goes off and I'm getting up and I'm not going to like spend a half hour on my phone or something like that, just like doom scrolling. Because that's not real. That's just like a sugar high. That's not really anything that's like substantive for my mental diet. So I'm getting up, I'm kind of getting ready. And then one thing that I always do in the morning is I pray for about 20 minutes and I'm praying in gratitude of the things that happened yesterday, the things that I have in front of me today. And I'm inviting God into this, really hoping that for this day that I've been given, I can make the most out of it. So it's kind of like this meditative exercise, thinking about what I've got going on and what I've been through in that very positive lens. So that really fuels the mental diet. And then throughout the day, I'm just trying to be cognizant of like when I'm feeling anxiety, when I'm feeling really burned out or stressed. I think sometimes if we just like recognize and acknowledge these negative emotions in our lives, it kind of helps to neutralize it. I don't think it's smart to like try to always turn that frown upside down and always switch it into some positive. I think sometimes it's okay to just try and like neutralize it and be like, it's okay. This sucks, but I've made it through 100% of my hard days. And I think I'm going to continue to. So you can kind of push through that. But then I always try to look up like those inspirational stories. And a lot of them for me kind of goes back to that perspective piece of like looking up stories, people who are just overcoming tremendous adversity really fills my cup, really helps enable me. And then in the end of the day, when I'm kind of got my head on the pillow, like I'm going to sleep, I'm not racking my mind with all those things that didn't go my way and all those things that's like I have to do tomorrow. I'm really trying to think about the things that I was grateful for that day. So it's like morning to night, I'm going through like, oh, my wife made like this awesome breakfast this morning. I'm really grateful for that. Or like the weather was absolutely perfect and that was so much fun. Or maybe we had some friends over, we got over in the pool and like we had a great time. Like I'm acknowledging those moments that I was grateful for. And that kind of keeps that mental diet cycle going to where I'm always above that equilibrium line. So when things hit me, I'm not getting dipped all the way down below and trying to dig myself out.
Man, what an incredible story. What an incredible framework for how to overcome this kind of adversity and make the best of the situation. And honestly, I think this episode of this podcast should be called Robert Handles It from now on.
Sure. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So tell our viewers where they can find information about you, Robert, how they can get in touch, and how they can be inspired by your story.
Totally. So I'm on all the big social media channels. Just look up Robert Paylor. Kind of got a monopoly on the name. There's not a lot of Paylors out there. So that's kind of a good way to follow me. I post daily rehab videos of me getting after it. So as we're recording this interview right now, it's day 2,995 since my injury. I keep track of it because I'm really trying to stack those days and not let them slip past me. So I post that on my Instagram stories every day and try to keep people in the loop of how this journey's going. And then over my my left shoulder here, right on the screen, is my book, Paralyzed Powerful. I came out with that a couple months ago. And it's a deep dive into all these things we've been talking about today, and mental diets and perspective and a plethora more of them, all while kind of sharing this story of battling quadriplegia these last 8 years. So it's been really awesome to have that out there. I did an audiobook, which I narrated myself too, which people have been loving too. But yeah, those are the best way to stay in contact with me. And then my website's robertpaylor.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you for the incredible conversation. And we'll hope to see you on the podcast again soon.
Yeah, sounds good, Harry. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks for joining us today on Harry Handles It. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found some valuable takeaways. If you're facing challenges in your own life or business, remember that you're not alone. Together, we can handle anything that comes our way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you liked what you heard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and handling life with confidence.